Chapter 19, The Observations. Clouds scuttled through the sky. Spiders spun the webs, intricate webs. Berries beckoned to hungry mouths. Foxes stalked hares. Mushrooms rose up from leaf litter. Turtles plopped into ponds. Moss spread across tree roots. Vultures hunched over carcasses. Ocean waves beat against the coastline. Tadpoles became frogs. Caterpillars became butterflies. A camouflage robot observed it all. Chapter 20, The Language of the Animals. It started with the birds. They had always been skittish. When the robot was near, they would stare and screech and then scatter. But now that Roz was camouflaged, she could secretly observe their normal behavior up close. Roz noticed chickadees fluttering through the same flowers and singing the same song every morning. She noticed a lark who swooped down to the same rock and sang the same song every afternoon. She noticed the same two magpies singing to each other across the meadow every evening. After weeks of robotically studying those birds, Roz knew what each bird would sing and when they would sing, and eventually why they would sing. The robot was beginning to understand the birds, but she was also beginning to understand the porcupines and the salamanders and the beetles. She discovered that all the different animals shared one common language. They just spoke the language in a different way. You might say each species spoke with its own unique accent. When Roz first listened to the chickadees, their song just sounded tweet, tweedle, tweet, tweedle. But now when the chickadees sang, Roz heard, "Oh, what a lovely day it is. Oh, what a lovely day it is." Deer, they spoke mostly with their bodies. By simply turning her head, a doe could say to her family, "Look, over there for clover by the stream." Snakes often hissed to themselves things like, "I know there's a tasty mouse around here somewhere." Bees said very little. They used their wings to buzz a few simple words like nectar and sun and hive. Frogs spent much of their time searching for each other. One would croak, "Where are you? I can't see you." And then another would reply, "I'm over here, follow my voice." When Roz first stumped across the island, the animals squawked and growls and chirps. They had all sounded like nothing more than meaningless noises. But she no longer heard animal noises. She now heard animal words. Chapter 21, The Introduction. There was an hour each morning in the dim light of dawn when all the island animals were safe. You see, long ago, they had agreed not to hunt or harm one another during that hour. They called it the Dawn Truce. Most mornings, the island residents would gather in the great meadow and spend the hour chatting with friends. Of course, not everyone attended these gatherings. The bears had never made an appearance. The vultures just circled high above. But on this particular morning, an unusually large group of animals had come out to discuss some important news. "Settle down, everyone. I have something to say," Swooper the owl hooted to the crowd from the lowest branch of a dead tree. "Last night, I saw a mysterious creature right here in the meadow. It seemed to be covered in grass, so I couldn't get a good look at it, but I think it may have been the monster." Oh, looks of concern swept over the crowd. "What was the creature doing?" said Doug the weasel. Dart the weasel. "It was speaking," said Swooper. "It kept repeating the same word over and over again, but each time it sounded a little different. At first it sounded like a cricket, then it sounded like a raccoon, and then it sounded like an owl." "What was it saying?" said Dig Down the groundhog. "I could be mistaken," said Swooper, "but I think it was saying, 'Hello, my name is Roz.'" The crowd began to chatter. "Just where was this creature?" said Fink the fox. Everyone turned as the owl slowly pointed his wing to a grassy clump in the meadow. It was a rather ordinary-looking grassy clump until it began to move. You probably guessed that grassy clump was Roz. She had been there the whole time, camouflaged, watching, listening, and with all the animals looking at her, she decided to introduce herself. The crowd stared in disbelief as that grassy clump started shaking and bulging upward and crumbling apart, and there was the robot. Using her body and her voice, she spoke to the animals in their own language. "Hello, my name is Roz." And the crowd gasped. Swooper fluttered from his brands and screeched, "It's a monster!" "I'm not a monster," said Roz. "I'm a robot." A flock of sparrows suddenly took off. "Leave us alone," squeaked Dart as he crouched low in the grass. "Return to whatever horrible place you've come from." "Well, I come from here," said Roz. "I've spent my whole life on this island." "Why haven't you spoken to us sooner?" screeched the owl from high up in the tree. "I didn't know the animal's language until now," said Roz the robot. Crown Point the buck had heard enough. He slipped into the forest with his family. "So what do you want from us?" growled Fink. "I have observed that different animals have different ways of surviving," said the robot. "I would like each of you to teach me your survival skills and techniques." "I'm not going to help you," screeched the owl from the top of the tree. "You seem so unnatural." "The monster's waiting just to gobble us up," shrieked Dig Down, and the groundhog disappeared into a hole. "I'll not gobble anyone up," said Roz. "I have no need for food." "You don't need food?" Fink relaxed a bit. "Well, I need food, and lots of it. Why don't you make yourself useful and find me some food?" "Well, what would you like me to do?" said Roz. "Can you hunt?" And the fox smiled over at the hare on the far side of the ground. "It's almost time for breakfast." "I can't hunt, but I could gather berries." The fox's smile disappeared. "Berries? I'm hungry for meat, not berries." "Good luck to you, Roz. You're gonna need it." And the fox trotted away. Roz looked up at the tree. The owl was gone. And then when the robot looked around again, she realized everybody else had gone too. Chapter 22, the new word. A new word. Yeah, it was spreading across the island. The new word was Roz. Everyone was talking about the robot, and they wanted nothing to do with her. "I don't think I'll ever feel comfortable knowing that Roz is on the prowl." "I hope that Roz camouflages herself as a rock forever." "Shh, there's Roz now. Let's get out of here." Roz wandered the island, covered in dirt and green growing things, and everywhere she went, she heard those unfriendly words. Words that would have made most creatures quite sad. But did you know robots don't feel emotions? And in these moments, that was probably for the best. Chapter 23, The Wounded Fox. My face, my beautiful face, somebody help!" Oh, Finks the fox was laying on a log. He was howling in pain with a face full of long, sharp quills. And Roz appeared. "Was there anybody else that can help?" he asked. "Well, would you like me to leave?" said the robot. "Oh, no, please don't go. I'll take what I can get." "Well, what happened?" "I didn't think that Porcupine could see me in the bushes, but when I went for his throat, suddenly there were quills in my face." "Well, why did you go for his throat?" "What do you think? Because I was hungry." "Well, if you hadn't attacked the porcupine, you wouldn't have quills in your face." "Yes, Roz, I know that. But a fox gotta eat. I didn't expect him to put up such a fight. Look, there are even quills in my paws. I can't walk. My face is numb, and I could die if nobody helps me." "Well, what would you like me to do?" said the robot. "I'd like you to pull out the quills." So Roz calmly knelt beside Fink and said, "I will pull out the quills." The robot started to tug on a quill, but it snapped off in her fingers, and Fink yelped and said, "Pinch it closer to the skin." So Roz pinched the quill quite close to the skin, and then very slowly she pulled it out. The fox winced in pain and said through its teeth, "Please, Roz, pull them out faster. This is agony." So Roz quickly tugged out another quill, and then another and another. And the fox lay perfectly still, eyes closed tightly, wind whistling through its nose, until every single quill had been removed and placed in a neat pile beside him. Fink struggled to his feet. "Thanks, Roz. I owe you one." The fox smiled briefly, and then he limped away.